in real time on the podcast clips of Hassan from the Destiny Discord as well, while claiming not to know him, and also claiming to care so much about anti-Semitism that he has to just constantly attack Hassan for being anti-Semitic, at the same time being fed info from a community of a guy who spent multiple days streaming with Nick Fuentes, which pretty much says everything you want to know about this guy, and also seems to just be defending the most insane things right now. He said Yoav Galan, him and his wife, said he was a good guy. This is one of the guys being investigated for war crimes in Gaza, one of the two people. The only other one, realistically, is Netanyahu and this guy, who they both praise on the show. And also recently defended the violent Israeli thugs in Amsterdam. And this is all coming from a guy who claims not to be a Zionist at all, but he's had his brain fully broken by left-wing people criticizing him over his support for the Israeli state. Not for what Israel are doing right now, although, again, he just seems like an idiot if that's the case. If he genuinely doesn't know, if he genuinely doesn't support what Israel are doing right now while allowing someone on his show, his wife, to say that Gallant is a good person, then it just shows Ethan has always been stupid. And he is stupid. I don't think he's that stupid. I'm going to give him a pass, but he is a total fucking idiot. And I want to talk about all of this today because even when Hassan has been calling out actual anti-Semitism, he's saying it's not good enough because Hassan is too critical of Zionism. And here's the main thing, right? Ethan's meltdown is so bad, even paying members of the H3 YouTube channel, they're turning against him now, and they're sick of all this whining about Hassan. So I want to show you the recent meltdown and what's been happening. So a recent clip was going around on Twitter of that Myron guy from Fresh and Fit going like full mask off fash on a crazy rant about Jewish people. Like some of the most anti-Semitic things I've probably ever heard. I wouldn't call him like mainstream because he's like a fringe figure, but a popular figure even say. So Hassan calls him out. This is how Ethan responds. So again, Hassan is using his platform to call out insane anti-Semitism. Ethan says, Myron is an easy dunk. He makes it incredibly easy to virtue signal that you are against anti-Semitism. If Hassan cared about anti-Semitism, he would listen to his Jewish friend when he expressed his genuine concern for the anti-Semitism festering in his own community. If Hassan cared about anti-Semitism, he would stop purity testing every Jew based on Zionist, anti-Zionist, a term that has lost all meaning. 90% of Jews globally would be considered a Zionist, a term that encapsulates both religious supremacists who believe they have a mandate from God to settle in the West Bank, and every secular reformed Jew in the world who thinks Israel should continue to exist. Absolutely wild. It's funny that he's trying to say like, oh yeah, 90% of Jews support Zionism, all the way from like religious extremists to secular people. Does that make it okay? Does that somehow make it okay? And should Hassan be okay with that? Because 90% of Jews support that. Again, you're still arguing for an ideology that is saying we should build a country on top of another group of people. This country was based on like the most terrible crimes against humanity and is upheld for these crimes against humanity. It doesn't matter if you're not one of the extremists. You still believe the state should be maintained like that. And if you support that right now in the face of everything that's going on, when the real face of this ideology is showing itself to the world, there is no issue with that. And you aren't an anti-Semite if this is your purity test. Absolutely like insane logic. And it's just funny that he's like, oh, Hassan, please read my crazy rantings on social media instead of listening to out of context clips about me. Now, unironically, Ethan actually made a really good point while saying like, yeah, everyone supports Zionism, including like more secular people, because on his podcast, his wife literally supported Gallant. Again, one of the two main people being investigated for war crimes, and these two don't strike me as the most religious people.
Yeah, Bibi like talk a lot, and Bibi's become a lot like Trump.
Yeah, so. Bibi's his guy. They're like homies. Bibi's celebrating last night.
Just the other day, Bibi fired a really good guy that a lot of people are pissed about, and he fired him because they had a disagreement, and that's like so Trump code.
He was like a moderating voice in the war room.
Yeah.
And he got rid of him, or like some more moderate voice. I don't know anything about the guy. DD. Just recognize his picture. He looked mean. I thought he was mean just because he looked mean.
No, it's not.
So he goes on to defend not only his wife for saying this, but defend some of the horrible things Gallant has said while saying that Hassan is purity testing people who might be secular and still support Zionism, right? If they are like you, then yeah, he should be seriously testing anyone who thinks like this. He says Hila doesn't know a lot about politics, but she knows that Galan is opposed to Netanyahu and wants to end the war. That's why she says he's a good guy. He wants to end the war. She's right that it's objectively bad that he got fired. I mean, I wouldn't say that. And then a quote where Gallant called Palestinians human animals and saying there'll be no electricity, food or fuel, which is actually like a war crime. Like he's saying, I'm going to do war crimes. This is on October 8th. Ethan defends us saying, this quote is from the 8th and it's a direct response to October 7th. I think it's a reasonable assumption that he was talking about the Hamas militants that killed civilians. Either way, this is the guy in his war cabinet that wanted to end the war, and he was just fired. If you care about war ending, then you agree with Peter. Again, I don't think he's a good guy for wanting to end the war. I don't care that he was fired. He's going to be replaced by people just as bad as him, but more religious. And that is what has actually happened. This guy is one of the main architects of everything that's been happening. He's not a good guy, and you can't say that she was saying in the context of this he's a good guy, but he's actually a terrible guy. Why didn't she make that very, very clear? Or why didn't anyone on the podcast make it very, very clear? In another post earlier, Ethan said the reason he calls out Hassan so much is that he has been fighting extremism his whole life, which is absolutely insane, by the way, because Ethan Klein not only was cracking jokes about Aaron Bushnell straight away, he's also platformed some of the most terrible people, Jordan Peterson, and in the wake of GameCon going full mask off Fash as well, he gave them a really sympathetic podcast where they basically downplayed everything he said. So Ethan has never fought extremism in his whole life. He's never cared about extremism. He's just had his brain broken by anti-Zionists on the left. And remember, he's been calling out everyone, like Majority Report for being anti-Semitic, Hassan for being anti-Semitic, and then he's complaining about extremism while defending this guy and defending his wife, saying he was a good guy. Who is the real extremist? Doesn't strike me as Hassan, it strikes me as someone like you who try to defend one of the most terrible people in the century and defend his wife's craziness. But anyway, because his brain has been broken, he made a podcast the other day, and he's titled it now, Ethan Destroys Dan Bilzerian with Facts and Logic. This is not what it was titled, and it actually had a different thumbnail. And in the video, what he does, I'm not joking, it's a Piers Morgan interview with this guy recently, right? And this guy is like a crazy right-wing anti-Semite whose opposition from Israel stems from being anti-Semite, right? Got no problem calling that out. I hope Ethan pleases me. But at the same time, Ethan didn't show the interview first. He just went through the comments section showing anti-Semitic comments on a Piers Morgan video. We can title the video something else. People are just sick of it. And these are paying members, by the way. I'm gonna read some of the comments, and these are the comments now after like a whole day of it being up. I've got some earlier ones. And his audience are just sick of his whining. And yeah, anti-Semitism is rising like crazy at the moment. It doesn't really help that a lot of pro-Israel groups classify criticism of Israel and anti-Semitism. But yeah, there's no denying it's rising. You get crazy people like Nick Fuentes, that Myron guy, Dan Bilzerian. These are like actual anti-Semites. Jake Shields is another one. Crazy anti-Semites, and they're fascists as well, right? Got no problem calling them out. But Ethan hasn't been focusing his energy on these people. He's even criticizing Hassan for calling them out, right? He's going after left-wing people because he sees left-wing anti-Semitism as a massive problem, because he's probably talking to Destiny and reading the Destiny subreddit all the time. Again, the guy who collabed with Nick Fuentes for a couple of days. And yeah, people are just sick of it. So these people pay £6 a month for, you know, the membership on the channel. I took an edible in anticipation to watch the Zach Bryan segment. Instead, I just sat there high as fuck watching a man read YouTube comments for 40 minutes without showing us the actual video the comments are about. This ep had That Doesn't Work For Me Either energy. The last episode to hit 1 million views was horrible show. I felt like this was the biggest clip I ever remember. The show wasn't titled what he titled it when I showed you it. I was stoked for Olivia's PowerPoint and tired of the non-stop rants. I don't think I had fun anymore watching the show, and it's coming from someone who never missed an episode but one. I think what we're doing is important, but damn, it feels just heavy, and I genuinely don't think I can keep watching if it's going to be non-stop rants in the future. I really don't want to cancel my membership, but when I'm skipping 40% of the entire podcast, it's hard to feel like it's worth it. I think I'm going to cancel my membership. This is legitimately insane. I never comment, but I miss the old show. Another member saying, if Hassan was so anti-Semitic, why would he even do a podcast with Ethan? Obviously, he sees him as a friend and always have his back. while Ethan just backstabs him with no remorse. This stuff is starting to feel like a straight up cult. Anyone who disagrees is a snarker. Anyone who challenges is the enemy. We only accept those who agree and nuance is unacceptable, but at the same time, Ethan is a man of the people. Just because you say it doesn't make it true. Really disappointed to see this as a true fan. Starting to understand why so many have left the Kingston train. Truly disappointing to see, especially as a fellow Jew. Echo chambers only hurt. Now it's time to make open to the perspective, and it's not him. Oh yeah, he also played a game later on the video called Twitch Streamer or Terrorist, putting a photo of Hassan next to Bin Laden. I think it was just taking quotes from Twitch streamers who were deciding if they're terrorists or not. Someone saying Ethan can talk about whatever he wants for as long as he wants. The Hassan next to Bin Laden bit, however, went too far. My biggest issue with the episode was the game they played having Hassan's picture along with Bin Laden. That, if anything, warrants criticism. It just gave a nasty Islamophobic connotation. And yeah, Ethan Klein is Islamophobic. He is insanely racist. Again, this is a guy who's defending someone like Yoav Gamal. It's basically defending Netanyahu and defending the wife called Netanyahu, a good guy, saying, oh yeah, but this guy wanted to end every terrible thing the Israelis are doing over a year later. That makes him a good guy. Not that he's even acknowledging this is just a power struggle within the political scene of Israel. It's not about any moral objection to killing. So as I'm showing you, the comments just don't stop. And again, these are all from people who pay. They pay for this YouTube channel. And they're all hating it. Like, I'm not joking, nearly all the comments were insanely negative. Again, I can't believe I paid hard-earned money on this. And of course he did respond saying, do you not think I want a fun episode? Do you think I enjoyed this? I do it because it's important. My heart and soul are bleeding right now. Piers Morgan interviewed a fascist to millions of people and all the comments supported him. This is significant and not normal. I would be a useless coward not to call this out. As a Jewish man, this makes me feel extremely unsafe and uneasy, and some of you hand wave it away because it's not fun, or use a chapter to take a break from the show because I promise you I will continue to speak my mind on this topic. I don't think anyone has a problem with you calling these people out. I think people have a problem of you comparing Hassan to Bin Laden, defending Israeli war criminals, and also having more energy for people like Hassan than people like Dan Bilzerian, Jake Shields. Because if these were the people you're going after, everyone on the left would agree with you, because we don't claim these anti-Semitic fascists. But when you're calling out people on the left for doing what you've been doing, and then complaining when people don't like you, constantly just reading comments on YouTube and going insane, then you just come across as a bit of a hypocrite. So at the end of the day, Ethan Klein's brain has been broken by Hassan, and he cannot take criticism of Israel because he feels like we're purity testing any Jewish person who supports the state of Israel, which is not something we're doing. He claimed he wasn't a Zionist before. He claimed when he was younger he was pro-Palestinian, but then he willingly became an Israeli citizen. Yes, Ethan, we do have a problem with that. It's not okay to willingly become a citizen of a settler colony apartheid state, and us criticizing people who support that apartheid state is not anything to do with someone's ethnicity or religion, because plenty of people who support that, like Mike Huckabee just got appointed as the US ambassador to Israel, they are Christian evangelical Zionists who will also hate for supporting the state because it's fundamentally immoral. Yes, there are plenty of people who do say anti-Zionist stuff because they are just anti-Semites. And like I said, someone like that Myron guy is a perfect example of someone who does that. But again, when one of the people you don't like says it, then it's a problem. And you're even calling like Sam Cedar and the Majority Report anti-Semitic, a show which has a Jewish host, it's pretty clear your outrage is pretty selective. And are we really meant to have sympathy for secular, pro-Zionist Jewish people like yourself when you defend your... Is this really a purity test to say what you posted here and before, what the wife said, is not okay in any context? So it's pretty clear he's spiraling, probably getting radicalized into extreme centrism by the Destiny community. So I expect more posts like this. And it's funny that he wants to talk about this non-stop, but he doesn't want to talk to anyone on the left who might have criticism of him for these posts. He just lumps us in. He literally called Hassan Nick Fuentes, by the way, while talking to the community of the guy who hung around Nick Fuentes and sanitized him, and he's probably directly talking to the guy who is friends with Nick Fuentes, by the way, and he's calling Hassan Nick Fuentes. So that is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments if you made it this far. Thank you for watching.
Hey guys, so I was hoping to address this in a month or two when I get around to finally making a video that I've had in the pipeline for a while, which was going to be called What Happens to You When You Criticize Israel. And I was going to go over how an Israeli government-linked harassment organization spent months targeting me, fabricating fake screenshots and allegations against me of sex crimes, while also coordinating with the Argentine far right to attempt to figure out where I lived and send people to my house to kill me. This campaign failed, and I subsequently denounced a bunch of the people who I was able to identify criminally in Argentina. I have one of the case files here, for example, because in a lot of these cases, the people who are not yet been informed, they don't actually know that they're being investigated, so I can't reveal anything about them and who they are, just in case they catch wind of it, which unfortunately this video might make some of them catch wind of it, which is why I really didn't want to talk about this until the time to actually do so came. So now I will. Anyway, so Ethan Klein has shared a defamatory screenshot, a fake screenshot, along with some other screenshots he posted from accounts that clearly aren't mine, of tweets that he of course did not confirm were real or not either. I guess he was too dumb to look at the handle and see that it was an impersonator. Nonetheless, I don't particularly care about those screenshots, but I do care about this one, given that this is Ethan Klein choosing to hop on to a Zionist organization's campaign to brand me as a sex criminal, acknowledging defamation precedents in most countries in the world. That's pretty much the worst accusation you can ever make against someone. Ethan Klein, a creator with millions of followers, apparently doesn't have any legal advice or something, and he thinks that just sharing screenshots that he has not verified at all of very easy to edit social media posts is a good idea. Well, it's not. This is a screenshot that is obviously crafted specifically to accuse me of pedophilia. 2 seconds. 2 seconds of critical thinking, and you could look at it and think like, hey, why does this have so many likes? Why does it have like no replies? You would think that someone saying something like that would get like lots of outrage and not many likes, right? And why is it that there's not a single mention of my handle on Twitter from October 7th to October 9th, 2023? If there were 4 replies, like the screenshot shows, there should be 4 mentions. And it's also kind of impossible for me to have made it anyway, given that my account was suspended at the time and was not unsuspended until November 6, 2023, as this email clearly shows. So Ethan Klein, you have one very simple option here. You offer an unreserved apology on every account where you posted this. You deal with all of your fans on the social media platforms that I know that you control, such as your Reddit, who are presently not only posting this screenshot, but accusing me of having committed sex crimes, and you of course delete your own defamatory posts, or I will be forced to take every means necessary to retaliate against someone who is clearly not responsible enough to have such a big platform. So I suggest you take my very generous offer of apologizing and just admitting that you are kind of a dumb fuck who believes anything that you see. Destiny, who is an actual pedophile you are associated with, someone who admitted to being attracted to 15-year-old girls, to grooming them.
So what is the admitting to jerking off to 15-year-olds then? What is that in relation to?
I never admitted to jerking off. I think I just said like this, I think the log is something like this 15-year-old chick was trying to send me, was sending me pictures of herself and she was hot as fuck. It's like really hard to like turn down some of these people. I think
Wait, how old was she?
She said she was 15.
And you shared photos of them in group chats. Perhaps it's not the best idea to uncritically believe what you see from that guy's fans next time. Perhaps it's not the best idea to post easily editable screenshots of people, given how incredibly easy it is to fake them, and how easy it is for others to turn that same practice around on you. And given the clear difficulties that you're going to have proving that a fake screenshot is real, consider yourself duly warned, and also consider yourself called out for being a complete and utter pathetic coward. To avoid responding to the videos that I made responding to you on the actual merits, and instead resorted to waiting a literal month and then posting straight up defamation, accusing someone of pedophilia and sex crimes. Ironic, given that for years you made jokes about raping children in your hilarious reaction videos.
There's blood pumping to my penis and it's filling up.
Does he have like baby edition? Newborn baby edition?
That's probably, you probably have to go to the dark web for that one, Eli.
Like 2 months baby edition?
That's fucked up, dude. You gotta go dark web for that one, Eli. I don't know if they host those on YouTube.
Actually calling out the atrocities Israel is doing, and they're doing so in a way to uplift Palestinian voices and shine a spotlight on, like, try to humanize them, try to show that this is an issue that we as the United States fair. Dan Bilzerian is pretty dumb, and he brought on a lot of anti-Semitic comments onto Piers Morgan's show. He brought a lot of anti-Semitic views onto Piers Morgan's show. So let's just get into it. We're gonna cover this next segment of the Ethan Klein versus Hasanabi drama. We're going to start off with this podcast. We're going to get into some of Ethan Klein's Instagram stories. We're going to get into Hassan's response to all of these, Ethan's response to the response. It's going to be a pretty big show, so just buckle up, relax, and enjoy your Friday. Let's get into it.
This was probably the most anti-Semitic thing I've seen platformed to a large audience. And I can't say that I think Pierce, he grilled him for sure, but the end result of this interview, I think, is that more anti-Semitism in the comments. Because Pierce is like, everybody's watching you and think you're insane.
So what I love about this right off the bat is Ethan Klein not understanding what Piers Morgan's show is. Piers Morgan's show is called Uncensored because he really just does not give a shit about what's said on the show. He's trying to make it as dramatic and sensationalist as possible to get as many views as possible. He doesn't care what's happening as long as people are watching. That's what Piers Morgan is.
People do not understand the balls it took for Dan to say what he said. Respect for his bravery. Not one group of people should be protected from criticism. No, why can't we talk about the Jews? Nobody will let us talk about the Jews. The Jews are running the world and they're killing everybody and they kill the president. They've caused World War II and they caused World War I. But I can't talk about the Jews, you guys.
Yeah. Okay, so again, Ethan's reading through comments. He likes to do this a lot. I think it's fine to read through people's comments to get kind of a general idea of the community that someone is fostering, but I personally don't like making the bulk of my content being just reading comments. That's why I don't really read through Ethan's comments on his subreddit, on his videos, and analyze the comments themselves. I sometimes do read them to try to get a general idea of the message that Ethan's sending out. And so if Ethan's going to scroll through this and be like, yeah, the general idea is that Dan Bilzerian is fostering a very anti-Semitic audience, and people that watch him feel emboldened to spew their anti-Semitic views. That would be fine. But what Ethan does do, I mean, we're at 109 minutes. He reads comments for what? 1 hour and 9 minutes. He reads comments for 40 minutes? That's insane.
Have you heard of Twitter?
There hasn't been
I can't talk about them. I literally can't talk about the Jews, guys. The Jews.
Go back. I haven't heard this in a minute.
Look at this.
Let's just
17,000 likes. This one is 26,000. They'll call you an anti-Semite, but never a liar. I'm pretty sure he called him. Well, it's not that he's lying. He's insane. But okay. I think he believes it. I think he's insane. He's fucking pathetically... Actually, I don't know if he believes it. I'm calling him a liar. How's that for you?
There you go.
This is the difference between being funded by someone else versus funding yourself. Well, I don't know. Is his dad's money count as funding himself? 16,000. These are all the top comments. I'm not even like... they're not cherry picking at all.
Again, I'm not going to really react to the comments or critically analyze them. A lot of them are essentially basically being against the deep state or against the Jewish cabal that runs everything, at least in the minds of these people. And what I find interesting about this is that it does relate to the election that we just had, the Trump versus Harris election, where a lot of people voted for Trump because they were rejecting the establishment, rejecting people that they felt like were in control of their lives, were trying to control them. I interviewed a Trump supporter, and he talked about his experience as a black person and how he felt like he needed to vote for the Democrats, and he felt like it was breaking free of the plantation to vote for Donald Trump and get Donald Trump elected. This anti-establishment, anti-elitist view that was the prevailing force in this election will naturally lead down like pretty anti-Semitic routes. If you get deep down enough into any conspiracy, it always ends up being against the Jews. And so, yeah, I think that, like, unfortunately, due to this kind of anti-elitist, anti-establishment climate we're in, that does lead into a rise in anti-Semitism. And we're seeing this on this video that Piers Morgan put out.
One for one. Friendly reminder that Piers regularly has guests on his show who speak about Muslims the way Dan speaks about Jews, but Piers has no problem with it. Now he's up in arms. I have to say, as someone who's been watching Piers, that actually there are a few people, yeah, but he does push back on them. Like there's that one guy, the Shmuley.
So Ethan Klein will go on to say that there's no non-anti-Semitic comments on Piers Morgan's video. I mean, that comment is not anti-Semitic. It's calling out a hypocrisy between Piers Morgan allowing Islamophobia on his podcast and Piers Morgan allowing anti-Semitism on his podcast. And to be fair to Piers Morgan, he has started to call out Islamophobia more, but he's definitely more in favor of calling out anti-Semitism.
Shmuley's insane. Yeah. I mean, Shmuley is fucking nuts. I hope and think nobody takes him seriously.
Shmuley.
But the one guy who is pretty crazy is the former Hamas, the son of the Hamas leader who worked for the Mossad and then now he's in America.
Oh, I didn't watch that one.
He is really something. But that's not true, that Pierce. But what he's doing is way crazier, and because like his thing is like, I just over the top general. Like I think all Muslims are like it's a violent religion, and I think that Gaza isn't real and that Palestine isn't real. Offensive, terrible things, but it's the like world conspiracy shit that's not better or worse.
I love how Ethan starts down the road of saying that, oh, well, the Islamophobia that happens on Piers Morgan's show is a degree less bad than the anti-Semitism that is on Piers Morgan's show. And then he realizes that's not really an area that he wants to be arguing in, and he backs off of it immediately. So, I mean, while we're on the subject, I was going to play this later, but we might as well play it now. It's just a little bit of more of the Islamophobic side of Piers Morgan's show. So let's check it out.
I want to play you a clip. This is from an Israeli podcast in March about, well, you seem to infer something about all Palestinians being complicit. I want to play the clip and then get your response.
I treat the Palestinians in Gaza in the same way I would treat any other group that produced a horror like that. They're responsible for their actions. They're responsible for their actions. They voted in Hamas knowing what Hamas are. They allowed Hamas to carry out the coup, killing Fatah and other Palestinians and dragging their bodies behind trucks in the West Bank, in Gaza.
Hostile scout pulse in your AO.
Do you actually hold all Palestinians culpable then for what Hamas have done?
Well, all Palestinians aren't, as it were, free game just because of this. No, not at all. Of course not. And all their lives matter. The point I made there, the point I've made for many years now, is that you cannot separate out completely the Palestinian people and their leadership. The leadership is there for a reason. They get elected, albeit they tend to have one election once and then just stay in power, as is the case with the PA in the West Bank, and as is the case with Gaza in Gaza with Hamas. I've had many conversations with many Palestinians over many years now, in which they have tried to say, well, look, you know, we don't like our leadership, or our leadership isn't good, but you know. The thing is, Piers, is that if you have a vote, for instance, and you vote for Hamas, then there are consequences to that.
Okay, so I think we can cut it off there, but you can check this guy out. This guy, Douglas Murray, is ragingly Islamophobic. And so what is he saying here? He's saying
UAV established overhead.
pretty much, I mean, okay, let's just take a look at it in the context of his interview on the Piers Morgan show. So Piers Morgan, it portrays this guy in a bad light. It's a clip of this guy saying something insane. Piers Morgan fairly uncritically just asked, do you still stand with this clip? And the guy's like, well, no, I don't. And then 30 seconds later, he goes on to say, actually, yeah, I 100% do. Because So they are responsible for the actions of their government. I mean, if we were going to compare that to what people say about Israel, where, oh, every Israeli is a settler, every Israeli is a terrorist because they support this terror regime, that should be rightly called out as bigotry, and it can be said in an anti-Semitic way where you're basically saying, oh, it's all Jews that are doing this. And also, if you're talking about how Israel is influencing American politics and stuff like that can be said in a very anti-Semitic way. So when Ethan talks about how Piers Morgan is more permissive of anti-Semitism on the show than Islamophobia, I do think that there's a pretty strong argument to be made that as a whole, Piers Morgan has had way more Islamophobia on his program than he has had on anti-Semitism. And again, Piers Morgan doesn't really care. He pushes back more against the anti-Semitism that's on the show than he does against the Islamophobia. But again, at the end of the day, he just cares what's going to get him the most views.
I saw on Twitter that the defense was in Dan's Holocaust statement, and that's why the numbers were exaggerated, because the Jews.
The New York Times?
Yeah.
Single-handedly?
Yeah.
Fooled the
Yes. What are you talking about here? Did I miss it?
That Gaza isn't real and that Palestine isn't real. Offensive, terrible things.
Target down.
But it's the like world conspiracy shit that it's not better or worse.
I saw on Twitter that the defense was that Jews owned the New York Times in Dan's Holocaust statement, and that's why the numbers were exaggerated, because the Jews.
The New York Times?
Yeah.
Single-handedly fooled the entire world?
That was the defense.
Like during World War II?
Yeah, they would keep inflating the numbers.
Pierce was like, how many people do you think died in World War II? Like, I don't know, but I bet my whole fortune was less than 6 million.
Fuck him. What a fucking vile piece of shit.
Well, he's such a fraud. I mean, the guy's never done a day of honest work in his life. He lived like his whole fucking life paying women to become their interested in. And now he's like, yeah, you know, I did hedonism, but now I found myself and I just want to shut the fuck up, bitch. Go actually work. Like, what does his company do?
Wait, so he's like rejected his like party lifestyle now? He's like trying to do that pivot?
He said social media is a game that he beat. That's why he's done with it.
Yeah, because all you have to do is type shit like this, and it's so, dude, if you type anti-Semitic shit, you will get so much information. Like, he is a literal airhead. He is a dumb, uncharismatic, unlikable loser. And his tweets are not funny or smart or insightful. They're just anti-Semitic, and that alone has catapulted them into some kind of status.
I guess that's the new norm, you know? Satan on the Jews.
It's starting to feel that way a little bit. I mean, it definitely feels like people are way more comfortable doing it. Oh yeah, they're very comfortable doing it. Maybe just on TV do it. Friend might have, yeah. Like 33 minutes, imagine how much of this has been edited out. Okay. Piers Morgan uncensored but not unedited. What is that?
Dan Bavarian probably is saying that they took something out or something. I don't know. Could check his Twitter and find out. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well,
though.
Dan, call into my show. It's live streamed.
True. No editing. Well, we have the button.
But it's obvious. Yeah. Like, if there's an edit, everybody knows where it was.
Yeah. It'd be a funny little splash.
As a U.S. citizen, he's the first amendment right to say what he wants. Yeah, nobody questions that fucking moron. These people are so dumb.
Yeah, he's on Twitter speaking
He's on TV with 1 million views.
Yeah, that's so annoying.
It's like, they're so dumb. To learn who rules over you, simply find out who you are not allowed to criticize. I see this quote all the time. By the way, I've gone in chronological order, every comment, every single one of them, and I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is 9 in a row of virulent anti-Semitic comments. So I don't know, Pierce kind of needs to take care of this. Like, he did not do a good thing ultimately in talking to him. Because the thing is, like, I prepare myself for these combos because he brings up like super niche, weird, anti-Semitic, like conspiracies about this and that. And unless you're like mega prepared to address it with like facts and data and like documentation, you just move on past it. And like, that's a dub for him. You know what I mean?
It's true. Yeah, the line between like platforming and actually dismantling their arguments is very, very fine. It's like, if you don't do it properly, you're just platforming that shit.
Unfortunately, I know Pierce's heart.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what they're talking about there. You do need to have a responsibility as a journalist, as someone who's interviewing a controversial figure, to interview them responsibly. You need to provide the proper information to your audience so that you can effectively push back against the narrative that you brought them onto your show to spout off.
I was in the right place, but I don't think you did this interview responsibly. I mean, you know, yeah, to learn who rules over you, simply find out you're not allowed to criticize. I can't criticize the Jews. The Jews. I want to scream Jews from the mountains. Okay, I'll go to the mountains. The Jews rule everything. Why do the Jews control media? Why can't I talk about Jews?
We're winning. Keep it that way.
I can't say it.
Losing Bravo.
This is
It's not Hitler, but I think it was some neo-Nazi who said that. Or like KKK member or something.
All right, I'm speeding this up.
Netanyahu told Congress that invading Iraq was necessary for democracy. Oh yeah, he blamed the Iraq war on Israel. And I never that before. Netanyahu told Congress that invading Iraq was necessary for democracy. Did you get a presentation?
Sure he did.
I don't know if that's true or not, but like, he didn't fucking send America to war. There was a, by the way, every country was like every Western European country was supporting America. Like, why single out Israel?
In the Iraq war?
Yeah.
Shocker, you think about that?
I mean Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can just get into this too. Netanyahu definitely was trying to get America to go to war with Iraq. Netanyahu obviously just wants America to invade Israel's neighbors.
There is no question whatsoever that Saddam is...
What the heck?
Taking all zones.
Ceasefire! Friendly target!
Locking down Charlie.
And is working and is advancing towards the development of nuclear weapons. No question whatsoever. If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region.
Israel's extreme right-wing prime minister Ben.
So we have that clip where he is saying, Netanyahu is saying that democracy will flow if you take out Saddam's regime. I mean, let's be honest, it's not just Netanyahu. There were a lot of Iraq war hawks in the American government at the time. If you read this Vox article, what does it say? In anticipation of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's speech to Congress on March 3rd, expected to blast Obama's efforts to strike a nuclear deal with Iran, the administration is going after Netanyahu's record on the last major nuclear debate America had, Iraq. The Prime Minister, as you will recall, was profoundly forward-leaning and outspoken about the importance of invading Iraq under George W. Bush. And we all know what happened with that decision. You may have a judgment that just may not be correct. Indeed, Netanyahu was a rather aggressive Iraq war hawk back in early 2000s. There's no question whatsoever that Saddam is seeking, is working, is advancing towards the development of nuclear weapons. So, Netanyahu was pretty instrumental in the creation of the narrative that weapons of mass destruction were being created in Iraq, and that's why we needed to invade it. And then we can also look at what he's talking about. If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee that you that it will have an enormous positive reverberations on the region. And I think the people sitting right next door to in Iran, young people and many others will say, the time of such regimes, of such despots is gone. Here's the video.
There is no question whatsoever that Saddam is seeking and is working and is advancing towards the development of nuclear weapons. No question whatsoever. And there is no question that once he acquires it, history shifts immediately. The dangers posed by a nuclear-armed Saddam were understood by my country 2 decades ago, well before September 11th. In 1981, the late Prime Minister of Israel, Menachem Begin, dispatched the Israeli Air Force on a pre-dawn raid that destroyed the Iraqi nuclear reactor at Osirak. This probably took place months away.
This isn't anything new, right? We know Benjamin Netanyahu's a war hawk. He wants to invade his neighbors. We know that America was also a war hawk. They wanted to it's not conspiratorial, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Israel has a huge influence on American politics. Why does it have an influence on American politics? Well, there's a lot of money invested in Israel. There's a lot of voters invested in Israel. There's an entire conservative base of the Republican Party is invested in Israel, taking it over its neighbors and fulfilling the prophecy that we're going to talk about the world. That's a crazy conspiracy. But the forces at play, which force America's interests are not conspiratorial. It's not the Jews pulling the strings. That's how they have Joe Biden puppeteered like a marionette. It's not. You do not need to be.
We're losing Alpha.
You do not need to go to anti-Semitic conspiracies to understand why the United States is supportive of the colony state Israel.
A lot of Western countries did support us.
Well, no, the first wave, they were backed up by like England, France.
Not France. No, remember? That was the whole reason that we renamed French fries to Freedom fries, because everybody in America was pissed that France was not participating in the invasion of Iraq.
What countries supported?
The UK, Poland was a big one.
United States, obviously, United Kingdom, Australia, Poland.
Right, Australia.
Other supporting countries, Spain, Italy, Japan, South Korea, Denmark, Portugal, Bulgaria. Israel's not even on.
Yeah, because of the sensitivity that they would not get directly involved. They did support it.
What is Israel? What they not Let's see. Israel's not officially part of the coalition, but it did have a vested interest in Operation Outcome. I mean, it's in the region. Why wouldn't it?
Taking B.
Here's a breakdown of Israel's stance. Strategic support, not military support. Concerns over Iraq's threat to Israel, which isn't unfounded. I mean, Saddam Hussein was literally sending fucking biological weapons to Israel.
All locations secured.
Yeah.
Hold your position.
Yeah, he was literally bombing Israel for no reason. Other statements, focus on national security. That seems pretty like standard fare. But somehow you read all this and he's like, no, Israel's the one. Israel caused the Iraq war, and they did not let it do.
Lockdown. Dig in and hold them.
And JFK. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Wait till you see who's driving the UFOs. Space Jews. Factor's response to the list of. I'm going to keep reading till I see one that isn't anti-Semitic.
Losing Bravo.
So what was his comment? Netanyahu literally told Congress that invading Iraq is necessary for democracy to flow in the Middle East. He gave a presentation of WMD. What is PM talking about? So we obviously don't really know the context for this comment, but it's true. Netanyahu he literally told out Congress that invading Iraq and displacing the Saddam regime to cause democracy to flow in the Middle East. You can find the clip. In fact, let's just play this clip right here.
Enemy RCXD detected.
Yeah, this clip.
Securing Zone A.
And, I mean, in that comment, we don't know the context because maybe Piers Morgan said, oh, Netanyahu didn't push for that. But just that comment by itself is not anti-Semitic. It's not pinning the entire Iraq war on Netanyahu or the Jews. It's just...
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. And I think that people sitting right next door in Iran, young people, and many others will say, the time of such regimes, of such despots, is gone. There is a new age. Something new is happening.
And that is speculation on your part, or you have some evidence to that effect?
I was asked the same question in 1986. I had written a book in which I had said that the way to deal with terrorist regimes, well, with terror, was to deal with the terrorist regimes. And the way to deal with the terrorist regimes, among other things, was to apply military force against them.
The way we did in Afghanistan.
The way, for example, I want to answer your question.
Well, I guess I'm running out of time, so I quickly was trying to get there. We've done, I think, what you proposed in Afghanistan, yet I haven't seen that sort of neighborhood effect.
Well, I think there's been an enormous effect. The effect was, we were told that there would be a contrary effect. First of all, people said that there would be tens of thousands of people streaming into Afghanistan, zealots who would be outraged by America's action, and this would produce a counter-reaction in the Arab world.
But I think you're not saying that when you take an action like we did in Afghanistan, we're going to see all of the other countries just fold.
No, what we saw is something else. First of all, we saw everybody streaming out of Afghanistan. The second thing we saw is all the Arab countries and many Muslim countries trying to side with America, trying to be okay with America. The application of power is the most important thing in winning the war on terrorism. If I had to say, what are the 3 principles of winning the war on terror? It's like, what are the 3 principles of real estate, the 3 L's, location, location, location? The 3 principles of winning the war on terror are the 3 W's, winning, winning, and winning. The more victories you amass, the easier the next victory becomes. The first victory in Afghanistan makes the second victory in Iraq that much easier. The second victory in Iraq will make the third victory that much easier too, but it may change the nature of achieving that victory.
Yeah, so not the best track record on creating stability and peace in the Middle East does Netanyahu have. It just seems to be wrong, and that strategy of seems to be something that he's trying to employ in his war against Palestine and now Lebanon, and it's just not working in this scenario either.
UFOs. NJFK, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Wait till you see who's driving the UFOs. Space Jews.
Yeah, the flying saucers actually flying yarmulke.
Factor's response to the list of... I'm going to keep reading until I see one that isn't anti-Semitic. Factor's response to the list of Israel terror attack as well. They weren't done on a single day is mind-blowing. I mean, that was a dumb point, but whatever. I'm calling it damn Blazarian is not suicidal. Okay.
Hardpoint locked down.
The fact Piers Morgan's response to the list of Israel's terrorist attacks is, well, they weren't done on a single day is mind-blowing. I mean, yeah, not anti-Semitic. He even says he's going to read until he finds one that's not anti-Semitic. That's the last time I'm going to say this because he already has.
Well done and well said, Dan. I'm a Brit and I love... I'm not even going to read this whole thing, but you guys get the tone of it. Pierce's face when he said they control the media. Meanwhile, Pierce company is owned by one of the biggest Israeli funders. Again, it's probably not true. What company is he talking about? Every time I look into this, it's like...
Hostiles have captured the hard
Honestly,
point.
I'm just going to skip through this because I do not care. We already went over a few of them. You know, rewind it to 1 point.
A lot of Western countries didn't support us.
Well, no, the first wave, we were backed up by like England, France. Okay.
Not France. No, remember? That was the whole reason that we renamed French fries to Freedom Fries, because everybody in America was pissed that France was not participating in the invasion of Iraq.
What countries supported?
The UK, Poland was a big one.
United States, obviously. United Kingdoms. Australia, Poland. Other supporting countries, Spain, Italy.
Also, I mean, do I need to point out the irony of Ethan saying you should come prepared to combat anti-Semitism by being well read on this and having like having ready counters for these anti-Semitic narratives that are going to be pushed back, and then Ethan's on the fly doing research, but not just doing research by like looking things up. He's asking ChatGPT. Like, that is extremely ironic.
Damn, South Korea, Denmark, Portugal, Bulgaria. Israel's not even on here.
Yeah, because of the sensitivity of it, they would not get directly involved. They did support it, though.
What did Israel say?
Well, they, Netanyahu and Likud.
Let's see. Israel's not officially part of the coalition, but it did have a vested interest in Operation's outcome. I mean, it's in the region. Here's a breakdown of Israel's stance. Strategic support, not military support. Concerns over Iraq's threat to Israel, which is an response.
Just one comment about ChatGPT, like, how does it not cite its sources? That's not. Like, it should be able to cite its sources if it's just pulling information from the web.
This thing is literally sending fucking biological weapons.
This is basic stuff you learn in high school. Are you saying ChatGPT is worse than a high school essay?
Drill. Like,
enemy has
this thing was literally sending fucking biological weapons to Israel.
Hostiles have the hard point.
So they're saying Saddam Hussein is sending biological weapons to Israel. Is that true?
Hard point locked down. Hostiles have captured the hard point.
Israel. Iraqi biological weapons program. Despite having signed but not ratified the Biological Weapons Convention, details of the BW program and the chemical weapons program surfaced after the Gulf War during the disarmament of Iraq under the United Nations Special Commission. So details of this program surfaced after the Gulf War, so there weren't details of bioweapons being sent to Israel. Of these three, anthrax, botulinum, and aflatoxin had proceeded to weaponization for
Enemy
deployment
care
because of the
package
UN disarmament program to follow the war. More is known today about the one secret bioweapons program in Iraq
Hostiles
than
reclaim
that
the
of any
lead.
other nation. So were these actually used in the war? So they had reports that U.S. and other intelligence reports had suggested that Iraq
Enemy
was operating a
UAV
bioweapons
inbound.
program. Coalition
Take
troops
out that
trained with
watchdog
protective
helo.
gear and stockpiled the antibiotic ciprofloxacin for use as post-exposure prophylaxis against anthrax. Approximately 150,000 U.S. troops received the U.S. FDA licensed anthrax vaccine and 8,000 received botulinum toxoid vaccine, also approved by the FDA as an investigational new drug. Although Iraq had loaded anthrax, botulinum, and aflatoxin bioagent into missiles and artillery shells in the Paris War, and although these munitions were deployed to 4 locations in Iraq, they were never used. Okay, so they were never used. So when Ethan says that Iraq was bombing Israel with bioweapons, he's just lying. I don't know where he came up with that. We then see in another Wikipedia article, 1991 Iraqi missile attacks against Israel. Iraq initiated a missile campaign against Israel in 1991. Over the course of the next month, approximately 42 Scud missiles were fired into Israeli territory, primarily in the cities of Tel Aviv and Haifa. Are Scud missiles bioweapens? What is this? It's a tactical ballistic missile developed by the Soviet Union during the Cold War. It was exported widely to both the second and third world countries. This term comes from the NATO reporting name.
First Gulf War, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, he was literally bombing Israel for no reason.
hard point.
Public statements focus on regional security. Yeah, it seems pretty like standard fare. But somehow you read all this and he's like, no, Israel's the one. Israel caused the Iraq war. And they did 9/11 too. And JFK, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
So let's just skip through this and get to the actual Dan Bilzerian.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like probably 100 coins per 5,000. There's nothing.
And I'm like, I'm down like 500 or more, and like this one has 850 left. Like, I don't even think. I mean, I'll just scroll. If you're going from middle and I'm going from top, it's 28,000 coins. 28,000. So it is interesting that YouTube is deciding to show all of the horrifically anti-Semitic comments. Yeah, I'm just scrolling, and you can see here. There's some airlift. Interesting. He's truly a human being who has not lost his humanity. He was right. There's an old video, and then now he's just in the parliament. Found out that he dealt with. He actually spoke about living, said his working secrets mission response. This was all live for so younger. I think everyone who supported us. If only their hearts, only with their hearts, you don't have to be Muslim. Just be a human being and say no to genocide and war.
Hostile UAV established overhead.
I guess I don't really keep going because there's 28,000 and some of they're all anti-Semitic. They killed Jesus Christ. They're telling the truth. Before we got dismantled.
Counter UAV front. Hostile recon above.
Dan did not commit suicide. But yeah.
They're supposed to be the
That's
CIA.
shocking that the new ones evolved.
Act like it.
There you Yeah, but don't worry, guys. I'm being, according to people like Hassan, anti-Semitism isn't an acceptable
Enemy
form of
UAV
bigotry, therefore we don't have
inbound.
to worry about it. 1.2 million. This is going to get a lot more too. Overwhelming likes, I guess, by...
Hardpoint identified.
I mean, once again, Ethan Klein is pissed off at Hassan because Hassan said anti-Semitism is an unacceptable form of bigotry, whereas Islamophobia is an acceptable form of bigotry. He never said you don't have to worry about anti-Semitism. He never said anti-Semitism doesn't matter. Only Islamophobia matters. Hassan has, in fact, actually called out anti-Semitism. He continues to call out anti-Semitism. And essentially, he just wants people to not be anti-Semitic and not to be Islamophobic. The reason he said that anti-Semitism is an unacceptable form of bigotry right now is because you have the institutional, structural systems in the world, and especially in the United States, set up to crush anti-Semitism while allowing Islamophobia to flourish. That's kind of the main reason. Whenever anything happens, people in positions of power are extremely quick to call out anti-Semitism, while also saying people will be extremely Islamophobic and allow Islamophobia attack.
I'm gonna bail. I planned on leaving until I couldn't anymore, but it's just too long. There's no end. So well done to Piers. Because let me just play the game.
30 million people on Instagram.
By the way, he says he made his wealth playing poker, which is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. He's a moron. He's such a liar. Like, he's worth like $100 million. He says he made playing poker. Nobody's ever even made that much. The best players in the world haven't made that much. Like, what a fucking liar, dude. What a weaselly little liar.
Listen, the stuff coming out of his mouth is disgusting. What right do you have to criticize a poker game?
Okay, fair enough. I'm just saying he's a liar. Maybe he's good. But that's okay, you know what? I'm apologizing to Dan. I owe Dan an apology right now.
Also, I appreciate you run through all those comments. I'm pretty sure Iraq, because his name happens to be Dan, I racked up like 100 fantastic sound bites.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through them.
Okay, so something good came out of it.
So thank you for spreading awareness, but also thank you for making my job.
There it is. A silver lining. We love silver linings here.
Yeah.
I'll just give you a taste, I guess, from the intro.
Read somewhere there were no rapes and abuse. Would go against your own narrative. Would that be fair? You calling him as a hero. Hamas is a resistance.
Bro, this man's face is just cracking me up. He looks like a fucking Neanderthal. What the hell? He's so comical. He's actually like a comic book character or like a cartoon character come to life. It's like some kind of adult cartoon character with the bulging pecs with the nipples poking out, like the perfectly shaved beard, and just this stupid, ridiculous ass haircut. It's comical.
Organization, Israel is a terrorist. Every single person that's been critical of Israel has either been killed or thrown out of power. And
every single one. They're all dead.
I think that is a coincidence. I mean, as a veteran, where I really have, huge problems with this. What do you mean the Jews killed JFK? Today, a lot of conspiracy theories have all come true. I believe that Jewish...
Also, he has a bad case of crazy eyes. Dan Bilzerian looks nutty.
Supremacy is the greatest threat to the world today.
Jewish supremacy is the greatest threat in the world today. Sounds like pretty close justification. Let's just kill them all. You know what I mean? Pretty much.
It sounds to me...
Do you think he claims, Pierce?
We're about to find out.
You gonna claim a Jewish man, Pierce?
He does, actually.
I think Nate tested it.
This clip? Is it supposedly good?
Oh, no, it's fine. There's no...
Incredible.
Elvis Presley, history and popular culture has given us many famous kings.
Oh, so
the king is dead.
Bullshits with
He's out of the new outlook, and you would...
talks about like his background and stuff, and then he gets into where's the chapters at? Oh, here it is. They do have chapters. Here it's here.
In particular, even when Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas, was killed by the IDF, you were out lauding him as a hero. To most people, he's the despicable head of a terrorist organization that
perpetrated
apartheid going on here. You went on Patrick Bet Davis podcast. He's a friend of the show. You said the Jews killed JFK and that Israel wanted October 7th to happen.
Bro, this motherfucking troglodyte and Patrick Bet David, that's a match made in hell. Oh my God. It's like, that must be one of the most disgusting podcasts to get through.
So that Israel had a reason to take that land. Let's just discuss those two things. What do you mean the Jews killed JFK? So I believe that was an Israeli Mossad operation, and they've committed multiple...
I would pose a question to him like I did to the guy from Beverly Hills who jumped on me. Is there any disaster in the world that's not caused by the Jews? Actually, Pierce does ask him that, and he goes, pretty much no.
False flag attacks. I mean, they've, the USS Liberty, you've got the Levin affair. I mean, so they've got a history of doing this, and I don't think it's crazy to think that they were involved in that assassination, and that's the reason that Trump didn't want to, release those files. And I think clearly it had to be embarrassing. Otherwise, why wouldn't he want to release it? And that's the only thing that I could think of that would be embarrassing.
The only reason I can think to not release highly classified files about one of the most contentious things in American history is because Jews. Glad you thought it through.
From that time, it's pretty much dead by now. So it would make sense. I mean, they wanted to cut off.
Yeah, his nips are looking tight. Boy, Scott, he cubed his nips up before the show, so he was looking good.
Oh, yeah. I found a comment about that, actually.
Where's some pages?
Okay, well, was it anti-Semitic?
No.
No, actually.
I got the nips.
I found a couple that might be not...
Okay, you want to read them?
No, you go ahead.
Here it is, right here.
So you found them.
Yeah. What's with the nips? Dude.
Okay, no, that I'll take it. Yeah. That's
but the design far, he wanted to take away their ability to have nukes, and they didn't like that. So I believe that they killed JFK. But just to be clear, you have absolutely no evidence that any Jews killed JFK.
Because I wasn't there.
JFK, do you? Nothing. Well, I mean, that's not true. I mean, Jack Rubin's...
So this is interesting. I opened up the JFK conspiracy Wikipedia page. There is a section about the Israeli theory. It notably is down near the bottom, which is maybe why I hadn't heard about it before. Immediately following Kennedy's death, speculation that he was assassinated by the Zionist conspiracy was prevalent in much of the Muslim world. Among these views were that Zionists were motivated to kill Kennedy due to his opposition to an Israeli nuclear program.
All right.
So it sounds like this is...
I love how it's they're putting out like this heinous anti-Semitic conspiracy, and their proof is like, it just feels right.
It just feels right. Yeah, this is down below.
I mean, that's the case with all anti-Semitic conspiracies, right? And basically, you can say all conspiracy theories, because if you go down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories far enough, you will end up being anti-Semitic. And essentially, it is a non-falsifiable claim that Dan Bilzerian's making because no amount of evidence could change his mind that it wasn't Mossad. If you're like, okay, well, we found this guy that shot and killed JFK, he would say, oh, well, Mossad hired the guy to do it. If you can say, oh, well, we found this guy that shot him, and we have, we can show that he had the capability to do it, and he had the motive to do it. JFK slept with his mother or something, so he wanted to get revenge on JFK and he killed him. Then Dan Bilzerian could say, okay, well, that's the perfect patsy for the Mossad to set up. The Mossad found this guy that had the perfect motive, and they got him to kill JFK for them because of the fact that he was going to do something against the Jews. So again, it's a non-falsifiable claim, and just because you came up with a story and it has a good solution, like it fits well in your mind, that doesn't mean it's true. So, for example, the wildfires that happened in Hawaii. A lot of conservatives, a lot of right-wingers that don't want to believe that climate change can increase the amount of fires that happen said that was Chinese space lasers. Or some people actually said it was Jewish space lasers. Shout out Marjorie Taylor Greene. Again, it all comes back to the Jews if you go deep down into rabbit holes enough. So you can come up with a perfect story in your mind, right? Oh, well, China wants to make America think that it's under more threat from climate change, so they started these fires. And guess what? The conditions for fires to start. It was extremely windy, extremely dry, and the power lines were falling. They were faulting. They were failing. And so when the power lines eventually did break, the conditions were perfect to cause a massive wildfire that happened in Hawaii. It's like, okay, so you're saying the Chinese used these perfect conditions for a wildfire to fire a laser to start the wildfire, but it wasn't that it was just the fire started because the conditions were good. It was that they used the excuse, they used that cover of perfect conditions to be able to start the fire. So this is how conspiracy theories work. And when Dan Bilzerian will bring up his evidence, quote unquote, that, oh, well, the Jews did this because they wanted nuclear weapons and JFK didn't want them to have nuclear weapons. That's not actually evidence. That's just him piecing together a story. But we don't actually have any evidence that that story is true, right?
Oh, let's see, the Lyndon B. Johnson conspiracy, organized crime, that was a mob hit, Cuban exiles, the military-industrial complex, shadow government, the CIA. These are all ranked above in the tier list.
He goes, the Jews killed JFK. Everybody knows that.
That was the person that killed the supposed patsy Lee Harvey Oswald. He was a Jewish mob guy, and there's been numerous documentaries tying the mafia, the CIA.
He's got us there.
Checkmate.
He's got us there.
Well, he also said mob guy, which is interesting.
I don't think. Yeah, he was mobbed up, and also Jack Ruby, I'm pretty sure, was not like. I mean, I guess just being a Jew at all isn't evidence for him, but I'm pretty sure he was not like Zionist, or wealthy or connected in any way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's the perfect patsy.
Here he grew up, son of Polish immigrants, troubled childhood, juvenile delinquent.
Yeah, and Dan Bilzerian will also go on to say that the only reason you can think of that Trump didn't release the JFK records is because Israel was behind it, which again is not actual evidence. It's just him concocting a story in his mind. And here's another piece of the story. I'm going to add that to the story. Oh, Donald Trump didn't release the records. That's another piece of the story that I can add. But there's no connective tissue between this fanciful story that Dan has concocted in his Looney Tunes brain to the actual assassination itself. He doesn't have any connective tissue.
He went to the military, he was a private, so a grunt basically, and then he got involved in like strip club scene in Dallas.
He's a Jew. Enough said.
Enough said.
Does he say anything about a rabbi or getting a oil, anything like that?
Yeah, he said something about Jews sucking babies' dicks. He does. It's all here.
I mean,
he touches everything pretty much.
There, but
I love that. I wasn't there.
With mafia, the CIA. I mean, I wasn't there, but everything that I've seen, evidence-wise, points to Israel. And they're doing it in Epstein Island. I mean,
yeah, but here's the problem I have with this. It seems to me like you see a lot of conspiracy theory stuff.
I've read a lot about the JFK assassination. There is zero evidence that any Jews killed John F. Kennedy. Zero. Unless you want to go off into some mad conspiracy theory rabbit hole. And I say to you that you make these big statements.
Why are you even suggesting that?
Pierce really fucked up. He wasn't ready for this. Yeah. He's like, yeah, he wasn't ready. You have to be really prepared to talk to someone like this.
Bro, I do like the assumption from Ethan Klein saying that Piers, like he's assuming that Piers genuinely wants to combat the anti-Semitism. Piers is loving it, man. Piers loves the Islamophobia and he loves the anti-Semitism that his guests bring on. Again, it's because he's just doing outrage porn on his show and he's trying to get as many views as possible. So he doesn't care. He's just trying to get as many views as possible by being outrageous as possible while trying to still maintain a level of credibility that allows him to get more viewers, get those viewers returning.
Enemy UAV inbound.
Huge following of people. Many of whom will think, well, wow, damn, Bilzerian says it. Maybe it's true. And that way, I would argue, this is how a lot of conspiracy theory stuff in the end gets propagated and promoted to the detriment of society. Because people like you who are very smart, there's no question of that, and very successful, and make a lot of money being very successful. I'm just curious why you want to be so inflammatory without actually having any evidence. And as you say, to just sit back.
Bilzerian looks like he just got done stomping a dog to death. He looks so crazy.
I can say, well, I wasn't there. Well, I wasn't there. Obviously, I wasn't even born.
For some reason, I see Rich just all kind of like, well, if that's your argument, then you can't say anything about anything ever.
That was, yeah, the dead end you ran into with Fresh and Fit.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
Wasn't there?
It's like, okay, well then, what's the point of having a conversation about anything else?
Oh, but I know that there were there's no credible evidence that Jewish people killed JFK. And you just say it as a fact, as if somehow we should...
There's this really terrific quote that like sums this up all the time about arguing. I think I probably showed it. Let me ask ChatGPT because I will know what I'm looking for.
Enemy CUAV inbound.
ChatGPT
Hostile UAV established
well, I
overhead.
listened to this already.
Enemy
Basically, the
sentry turret
quote
detected in your AO.
that he's trying to find is saying that it's just wish out for someone to make a ton of arguments without actually making any like real arguments. If you put out like 1,000 different things, then the person who's arguing in good faith has to go through every single one of those 1,000 things to try to refute your point. So you can just like take a giant shit and then someone's gonna have to try to clean it up if you're arguing in good faith. So that's like the advantage of being a charlatan. So yeah, I really don't like it when people are like trying to make a point and they pull up a quote. To me, that's just an indication that you're not very smart and the only way you can portray an idea is by finding something that's wrapped up very concisely for you. And it's like a prepackaged nugget of wisdom that you need to keep going back to. So, I don't know. I don't like it when people are like, oh, I saw a quote that's very relevant to this. Let me find this quote. Let me ask ChatGPT about it. It's like, can't you just say what you're trying to say? Why do you need to go find this like perfectly packaged nugget of information to bring to your audience instead of just speaking from your chest?
Nixon, I mean, they all have similar fates, and so I don't...
It's unbelievable, man.
I think that's a coincidence. I also think that today a lot of, quote-unquote conspiracy theories have all come true. So
I like that logic that anybody that's... Like, when Reagan, told the Israelis to stop bombing Lebanon in the 80s, did they give him Alzheimer's?
They gave him Alzheimer's. They tried to kill him so many times. Well, he was shot, wasn't he?
Hinckley, but I think...
True! Hinckley! He's a Mossad agent!
What year was that?
Was that before or after?
It might have been before.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh, shit. Well, they knew. They have crystal balls. We have crystal balls, Dan. Zach, we were talking through them last night.
I just got mine polished.
Nice.
Wait, like the Palantir from Lord of the Rings?
That's correct. We talk about...
You commune with the eye, the great eye?
We commune and we plan. We plan.
I'm delving too deep.
We should get something like that. Like my Jewish crystal ball, where I can commune.
Oh my God.
You can give me a minute and I'll commune with the Jew.
No.
That's all.
Mormons, maybe?
It's a party. It's a party.
It's a party.
Oh yeah, he also says like...
Which at that point you have to start to question, maybe he deserved to get killed. There's a lot of people that seem to be on board with this.
I mean, their logic is, geez, the Jews got kicked out of 109 countries. I mean, clearly
a lot of people on the JFK fell are dead. I mean, I don't know. Who am I to say? I wasn't there.
Was Castro a Jew?
I wasn't
Maybe. Probably. Bay of Pigs?
Who's his mom? Who knows? He blames the USSR on Jews. He blames the Holendor. What is that? Don't know much about that, but I'm pretty sure.
We got the lead. Now
that's the famine where a bunch of people died in Ukraine. That's what you're
nice.
Yeah.
We're pulling ahead.
I don't know. I think
there's no way Solomon
I wasn't there.
I mean, I don't think so.
I wasn't there, Ethan.
I know Marx was Jewish. Marx was Jewish, but like he hated Judaism. I'm pretty sure he wrote like...
Was it Lenin a Jew too?
I think there were some. Yeah, there was a lot of people, but they weren't Jewish. They were communist. Like their Jewish identity was nothing compared to them. These communist revolutionaries.
You see the government lie to you, and lie to you on a scale like they did during COVID.
Okay, so just some casual anti-Semitism from Ethan there, right? Saying that, oh, Marx wasn't Jewish, he was a communist. Again, man, in the process of defending Jewish people, Ethan says that, actually, I'm going to discredit your Jewishness because you didn't value that as the most important part of your identity. So, again, you can't really make this stuff up. Ethan is not the Pope of the Jews. There are no popes in Judaism. You do not have someone telling you what makes you a Jew. In fact, like if this was Ethan reacting to someone else and he's going to be hearing someone like Hassan or Frozen saying that, oh, well, this person's not really Jewish. I mean, they don't put Judaism as the forefront of their identity. Maybe like like a secular Jew, like maybe if they're talking about that guy that hangs out with Hassan, Felix Bitterman, and they're like, well, Felix isn't a Jew, he's more communist. He puts being a socialist as the forefront of his identity. If Ethan saw that, he'd be like, that's extremely anti-Semitic. What are you talking about? Why can't you be socialist and Jewish at the same time? And I don't know what Ethan has going on with the left in his mind right now, but anyone communist, socialist, or, that's like inherently anti-Semitic in his mind. He's like, oh, well, Marx wasn't a Jew, he was a communist. What are you talking about? Which is, it's so funny, man. Like, he doesn't even realize he's getting addicted.
You start questioning a lot of things, and I think it's healthy to question things. And I think one of the big reasons why I've marched down this path so far is because once I started questioning Israel and once I started speaking out against Israel, I saw the ramifications and I saw the pushback.
It's so ironic because this man was completely irrelevant for like years. And now, just look at his Twitter feed, and he's getting hundreds of thousands of likes. He's relevant. People look at all the adoration he's getting, and they try to spin it like I'm putting everything on the line, and I'm so brave.
So I think that this is kind of an important point to make. So Dan Bilzerian is saying that I started speaking out against Israel, and I got a ton of pushback for it, so I started marching down and down deeper into this rabbit hole. That's really interesting. You can take a look at that and compare it to people like Joe Biden, compare it to people like
enemy mine, front.
Himself, who started defending Israel to the point where any type of criticism to Israel or to Israelis is anti-Semitic. So I would argue that these are two sides of the same coin. You have one group of people that are saying any kind of criticism against Jews are anti-Semitic, and you have another person who starts criticizing Israel, any type of criticism against Israel is anti-Semitic. That's on one side of the coin. And then on the other side of the coin, you have someone who, let's just be honest, isn't very smart. Dan Bilzerian kind of seems like a dumbass to me. He starts criticizing Israel because he does see Israel as a colonial power in the Middle East. He sees them as genocide Palestinians. He starts speaking out against that. All of a sudden, he's getting a lot of criticism for speaking out against it. So what does he do? He dives deeper and deeper and deeper, and he starts getting really conspiracy theory brained, and he starts thinking that the Jews are controlling everything now. Because, the conspiracies are not complicated. Israel represents an interest for American foreign policy. Thus, it represents an interest for the media in upholding the public opinion for Israel, because that's what the media does. It's basically an arm of the U.S. government. It's not a complicated conspiracy. If you attack an ally of the United States, you're going to get attacked by the media and by U.S. politicians that are getting paid by that ally or have other vested interests in maintaining that relationship with that ally. So Bilzerian starts attacking this ally. He sees that everyone is out to get him. What does he do? Instead of just being like, oh yeah, money in politics is really valuable, he goes even deeper and he's like, well, Israel is full of Jews. I've been told my entire life, or I've been told this entire time I'm criticizing Israel, that I'm being anti-Semitic. Thus, it's the Jews that are calling me anti-Semitic and trying to cancel me. The Jews are controlling everything. So this is the issue with ethno states, right? This is what I'm trying to illustrate. Ethno states have lured detractors, and they radicalize their detractors to be anti-Semitic because a lot of lot of people are stupid. I don't know if you know about that. Bigotry is like one of the most common forms of belief. So people will fall down into these categories of bigotry. It's like sand getting shifted to the bottom of a bucket or something. They're going to end up there. And then you also have kind of like the nationalist pride of the people that identify with that ethno-state, where if you're criticizing the ethno-state, then these people, like Ethan Klein, like Joe Biden, like Netanyahu, like Yoav Gallant, will say, if you're criticizing Israel, you're being anti-Semitic, because Israel is representative of Jewish people, and when you criticize Israel, you're actually criticizing the Jews and playing into these conspiracy theories. And again, these are two extremes, right? But they're extremes that arrive to the points that they arrive at through the same type of mechanisms. And that mechanism is flattening out any criticisms against Israel and against any ethnicity as a criticism against that ethnicity. So it is just a reduction of people's arguments, and it leads to more division, essentially. So yeah, ethnostate's not good. I don't know. That's a hot take. Maybe it's a hot take that ethnostates aren't good. And you've not heard me actually call out this fact that Israel is definitionally an ethno-state, and it needs to maintain its ethnic supermajority of Jewishness. I'd like to hear Ethan reconcile with that idea. See what he has to say. Because essentially, Ethan won't actually get into the nitty-gritty about what Israel is. He just says, I don't want 8 million Jews to leave Israel. It's like, okay, no one's talking about that. What people on the progressive left want is there to be one government with equal rights for Palestinians and Jewish people. Basically, Jews and non-Jews should have equal rights in the country of Israel. That's it.
Saying this, and I see all the it's like there's nothing but positive for him in doing this. Like no downside at all that I can see.
And the side of right is usually never the side that's silencing people. You know, the people that are on the right side of history are not the ones trying to, cut off free speech or punish people for what they say.
Do you think that?
Yeah, I mean, sure. He doesn't know what free speech is.
Did the Jews kill Gaddafi as well?
Israel. I think that they have way too much control in our government, and I think it is not coincidence that everybody that's been critical of
the Jews killed Gaddafi. Alrighty. He's like, well, yeah, basically.
Israel has, either been overthrown, Shah of Iran, like every single person that's been critical of Israel.
Why would Israel want to get rid of the Shah? They were like, okay, whatever.
Either been killed or thrown out of power. And I don't think that is a coincidence. I mean, the reason we fought a lot of these wars is because of Israel. I mean, Israel lied to us. They told us that there was weapons of mass destruction. We fought many wars on their behalf. So their influence cannot be, disputed. And the people that we continuously fight just happen to be their natural enemies. And they have influence on what we do. And that's my biggest issue. That's actually one of the reasons why I kind of started marching down this path, is because I see how much control Israel has over our government, and it's not healthy. And I see our
Once again, a reminder, AIPAC is like the 8th largest foreign lobbying group. It's not even the most influential, not even close. But again, we target them because they're,
politicians acting on behalf of Israel instead of on behalf of what is best for the United States. And that is, as a veteran, where I really have fucking, huge problems with this.
I'm sure, David, when you say that what was it you said, that the Jewish people...
I know what people are saying I'm glazing Pierce. This was an abject failure of an interview. Like this was just a total fucking failure. And
I don't think anybody's saying you're glazing.
I was reading chat. People are arguing about it. No, I said I watch his show. I like his show. Because, I mean, it's insane. It's like, the best comment was, it's political blood sports. I was like, it's entertaining.
Yeah, he's definitely milking the conflict more than anyone.
He is loving this, man. Yeah.
Did he say he's a veteran?
He's probably lying about that, too. He literally lies about everything in his background.
Well, I'm looking at his Wikipedia right now because I just had never heard.
He said he was a Navy SEAL. Like, he lies on that level.
He claims he's a Navy SEAL?
Yeah, he claims he was in the Navy SEALs.
I mean, there's nothing in his profile. None of this qualifies you to be...
at people? It sounds like he was just at a shooting range.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's illegal to have guns if you're not in the military there or something. I'm not sure.
Whatever. There's so much to get to with this. I want to finish this part.
Said there were weapons of mass destruction. I mean, it was President Bush. He's not Jewish. It was Colin Powell. He wasn't Jewish, as far as I'm aware. What are you talking about? What do you mean?
Well, did he say as far as I know? I don't believe Colin Powell is Jewish.
Let's see what he says. I mean, that was a fair point. He says Bush, Cheney, Colin Powell, none of them are Jewish. Okay, that's fair. Let's see what he says.
About 0.2% of the population, so obviously every single person in there is not Jewish, but it is benefiting Jewish interests, and we are operating on behalf of Israel. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying all of our politicians are Jewish, obviously, but what I am saying is that Israel has dirt and blackmail on our politicians. That's the only way to explain why they put the interests of Israel above our countries. And
he does this. He goes, it's the only way to explain it.
You see that? I mean, look.
I mean, again, it's conspiracy mind, right? You can't ever just say, oh, well, the conspiracy is right in front of me, right? It's politicians getting donations from AIPAC. It's politicians getting support from people that are pro-Israel and anti-Palestinian. You can never just say that. It's always, oh, well, I mean, the politicians must have been on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, and we all know that Jeffrey Epstein is an agent of Mossad, and they must have videos of the politicians like doing underage stuff with underage kids. It's crazy conspiracies. Let's just skip ahead a little bit.
Well, I mean, victims. Yeah, I mean, that figure's been revised, but, you know, I believe that Jewish supremacy is the greatest threat to America, and I think it's the greatest threat to the world today. I truly believe that.
Oh, yeah, the Holocaust.
For a reason to blame Israel for absolutely everything, even when there's no evidence that it was Israel involved in the actual orders that were taken. There's no evidence that Israel ordered the Iraq war. It was taken by George Bush's administration with the help of people like Tony Blair.
Well, we went there.
I just read a comment. Can you ban this person? C sound? Just permanently ban them from chat. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
C sound?
Yeah.
All right.
Did they shut off comments on this video?
I'm coming for you, C sound.
Because Netanyahu testified in front of Congress that they had weapons of mass destruction, which was a total lie, and it was a lie to benefit Israel because that was an enemy of Israel. So what I'm saying is they're the beneficiary of what we are doing, and it's not in the best interest of the United States. So clearly they've got control over our politicians.
Yeah, to be clear again, though,
I'm not saying our politicians are Jewish. I'm saying our politicians are doing what they're telling them to do.
Right, well, that's slightly different than what you did say. When you said on Patrick Ben Davis' podcast as well, they play the victim card so effing much about Jewish people. I mean, do you not understand why Jewish people might feel a sense of victimhood, given that 6 million of them were killed?
Again, going to the Holocaust is just like setting them up. Like, don't you think that's insane to say about an entire group of people? But he goes, oh, the Jews are victims because the Holocaust happened, 70 years ago. But like, if you are familiar with these arguments, that's like playing right into their fucking, their talking tree. You know what I mean?
The World War II by a genocidal monster in the Holocaust. Do you not understand why that might make...
Oh, maybe pull up the We Disavow, because this gets into some pretty nasty Holocaust denial. I don't know if it's obvious enough that I do not agree with Dan Blazarian.
Jewish people feel that, yes, they have been victims.
Yeah, I mean, that figure's been revised, but, I believe that Jewish supremacy is the greatest threat to America, and I think it's the greatest threat to the world today. I truly believe that.
What do you mean the figure's been revised? What do you mean?
He's talking about a group of like 10 million people who are controlling the world affairs of every country, every politician, every war, every assassination. It's all the Jews, a tiny fraction of the population, who can't even, by the way, run their own country, practically, but they can somehow rule the entire world from the shadows.
Okay, so again, conspiracy, right? First of all, this guy's saying that 6 million Jews didn't die in the Holocaust. Give me a fucking break. Get that shit out of here. I'm not going to argue the numbers, and historians have settled upon the number that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. Again, it wasn't just 6 million Jews that died. There were a lot of other people that were exterminated by the Nazis. And saying that only 6 million people died in the Holocaust is Holocaust revisionism. So, yeah, let's get that straight. I think Ethan's going to talk about this, and I'll bring up the numbers there. Secondly, what did Dan Bilzerian say? Oh, Jewish supremacy is the most dangerous thing for America right now. That's fucking bullshit. Jewish supremacy is completely irrelevant to America. Christians that want Israel to take over the Middle East don't believe in Jewish supremacy. Jews that want to take over the Middle East might believe in it. However, it doesn't matter. America's backing them up, so it doesn't matter what they have the ability to do it. America wants a white nation in the Middle East for their interests to be represented there. So, yeah, Jewish supremacy has nothing to do with the creation of Israel. I'm sorry. Like, it's an ideology that's taught to a lot of people that live there. But we could rip that ideology away and
We've lost
we'd be
Charlie.
in pretty much the exact same situation. Maybe a bit less genocidal, but
Objective capture underway.
yeah, I mean, we'd still be in pretty much the exact same situation. So it's a pretty fucking stupid thing to say.
Losing Bravo.
Well, they said that
Securing C.
it was 4 million that died in Auschwitz, and then they said it was down to 1 million, so they've revised.
Auschwitz is the only place Jews died? What are you talking about?
How many people do you think were killed in the Holocaust?
71,000 died in Auschwitz.
How many do you think were killed in the Holocaust?
Get a napalm strike on my beacon.
I don't know, but I would bet my entire net worth that it was under 6 million.
Losing A.
Brave.
Again, I simply ask you, Dan, what's the motivation?
Well, you weren't there, Dan. How you gonna?
You should take him.
Net
Such
call. Enemy
a
watchdog
stupid
kilo
thing to
inbound.
say. Like, he doesn't know.
Securing
Why
Charlie.
is he bringing it up?
B locked
I'm
down.
really getting sick and tired of people talking about
Charlie,
something they have no idea what they're talking about. You can just look here. What?
Losing B.
So Jews, 6 million, and we can take a look at
Claim the advantage. Now hold
documenting
it.
numbers of victims of the
We're losing
Holocaust and Nazi
Charlie.
persecution. Let's click on the source. This is the Holocaust Encyclopedia. How many people died? How many people did the Nazis murder? Nazi Germany committed mass murder on an unprecedented scale. The Nazis and their allies and collaborators killed 6 million Jewish people. This systemic state-sponsored genocide is now known as the Holocaust. The Nazis and their allies and collaborators also committed other mass atrocities. They persecuted and killed millions of non-Jewish people during World
Given
War
up
II.
the lead.
Thank you. The Holocaust
Hostile care
Encyclopedia
package
actually
inbound.
brings up the fact that
Enemy
non-Jewish people were killed in World War II. So, documenting the Holocaust. Click on this.
Taking the lead. Stay on
So,
task.
I'm just wondering if they have how many Jewish people died. So, here, let's take a look at what zoom in so you can actually see. So approximately 2.7 million Jews were murdered at killing centers. The Nazi German regime created 5 killing centers specifically to murder Jewish people using poison gas. These killing centers were called. Okay, I'm gonna destroy these pronunciations. Chelmno, Belzec, Sobibor, Treblinka, and Auschwitz-Birkenau. See table 2 for breakdown of this number by killing center. About 2 million Jews were murdered in mass shooting operations and related massacres.
Taking Bravo underway.
800,000 million Jews were murdered in ghettos, labor camps, and concentration camps. That is 250,000 Jews who were murdered in other acts of violence outside camps and ghettos. So it looks like this is a pretty well documented massacre, and we can even see the specific numbers among these camps. Approximately 1 million at Auschwitz, approximately 925,000 at Treblinka 2, Sobibor 160,000, 435,000, 167 at Chelmno. And then, yeah, we can take a look at the non-Jewish people that were killed. 4.5 million Soviet civilians, 3.3 Soviet prisoners of war, 1.8 million Poles, 310,000 Serbians, 270,000 disabled people, 250,000 to 500,000 Romani. Horrible. All of this is horrible, man. 80,000 Freemasons, 20 to 25,000 civilians, 5,000 to 15,000 homosexuals. Everyone forgets that all the time. 3,500 Spanish Republicans, 70,000 Jehovah's Witnesses. All of these horrible, atrocious crimes.
Losing B.
What does Dan Bilzerian say?
How many people do you think were killed in the Holocaust?
He can't be bothered to look up the people that got killed in the Holocaust. All he can say is, oh, well, I bet it's less than 6 million. Yeah?
71,000 died in Auschwitz.
How many do you think were killed in the Holocaust? How many people do you think were killed in the Holocaust?
71,000.
Most of those Jews died? What are you talking about?
Well, how many people do you think were killed in the Holocaust?
71,000 that died in Auschwitz.
How many do you think were killed in the Holocaust?
170,000 died in Auschwitz. And this is approximately 1 million people. So he's decreasing this by like a factor of 10. Wow. Really gross stuff. And then what is his evidence? Oh, I didn't feel right.
Securing Charlie.
I don't know, but I would bet my entire net worth that it was under 6 million.
Brave.
I think they asked you that. What's the motivation?
Well, you weren't there. Dan. How you gonna?
You should take him on that bet.
How?
We got a Mike Lindell on.
Well, it may have been a little under 6 million.
God, Piers Morgan is
Taking Alpha.
fucking horrible. He's saying, what is the motivation? He's not saying, what's your evidence?
Initiating objective control.
Easy dubs.
And I feel fairly confident that I got a good shot.
Things like that. What do you stand semantic game by trying to diminish what happened in World War II.
I'm just answering your question. I mean, I'm a gambler, so if I think that something is a low probability, then I would bet on it.
Your entire net worth?
Okay. I don't know for a fact.
Says he looks like a nutcracker.
He definitely got that broccoli assassin. He also looks like a troll doll, I was going to say. Pretty good. What a horrific fucking style.
Cool. Did you see this conspiracy?
Let's see. Plantation, white shirts. Oh, fuck. They're both wearing a white shirt.
Yeah, I noticed this earlier in the episode.
Taylor was wearing a white cowboy hat.
Losing Bravo.
That's killing people.
That seems fairly effective.
Yeah, I mean, they did it to save wolves. They did it to save wolves. They put them in a fucking room, and they put some deadly gas on them out of them.
Yeah, and they also shot a lot of people.
Decent way to do it if you're gonna do it, I suppose.
Alright, let's just skip ahead a bit.
And the problem is that the Israeli government enables these people, which is fucking insane, but it is a fringe, and a decree from...
That's right.
But now I learned recently that Muslims also like Jesus, and now I'm more concerned.
Oh, yeah, dude. Like I said, Jesus coming back for Endgame.
There's a decent amount of Jews that like Jesus. They just don't think that he's the Messiah.
I don't think Jews, and that's another thing, Jews don't dislike Jesus, we just don't care about him because we don't think that any of that story is true. It's not like the Jews are like, I hate Jesus, and it's like, it's just, they don't care. Like, and this whole thing about Jewish supremacy, in my whole life, I have never seen anybody express an opinion that because we're Jews, we're better than anybody. I mean, there's like a fringe radical element in Israel of like culture, Zionist, nationalistic settlers who believe they've given a decree from God to settle all the land in the West Bank and et cetera. And the problem is that the Israeli government enables these people, which is fucking insane, but it is a fringe group of people, and it's this whole...
Taking Bravo underway.
Oh yeah, there's this fringe group of people. But, I mean, it's actually the Israeli government, too. So let's just take a look at this article. This is Institute for Middle East Understanding. Don't know how trustworthy this is, but, I mean, they're just copying and pasting laws right now. So the 7 most racist Israeli laws. This was on March 6th. The Jewish nation state law, one of Israel's quasi-constitutional basic laws, stipulates that the right to self-determination in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories is unique to the Jewish people and encourages racial segregation and discrimination against Palestinians in housing by directing the state to promote the development of Jewish settlements as a national value. So, again, this is a law that is in Israel establishing apartheid. How do you take anything other than Jewish people are better than Palestinians away from this law? If you want a bit more context about that law, you can take a look at his Vox article. His Vox article was from July 2015, so 5 years before this article was written. Israel's hugely controversial nation-state law explained. Supporters call it Israel's Jewish nation-state law, finding which critics say it's apartheid.
Enemy Watchdog Hilo inbound. Prey authorizing Watchdog Hilo cast.
Jerusalem. And that is law behind the Jewish nation-state law. Jerusalem. Israel passed a controversial nation-state law last week that sparked both celebration and feast toward Israel itself. The law does three big things. It states that Israel, the right to exercise national self-determination in Israel is unique to the Jewish people. So you do not have self-determination if you're not Jewish in Israel. Again, how is this disaffirming the idea that Jewish people are superior to non-Jewish people? And I'm not saying that this is an issue for Jewish people in general. However, it is an issue for Israelis, and I mean it's an issue for both Jewish Israelis and non-Jewish Israelis, obviously, because if you're a Jewish Israeli, you're simply given more rights than a non-Jewish Israeli. It establishes Hebrew as Israel's official language and downgrades Arabic, a language widely spoken by Arab Israelis, to a special status.